Hey guys, Stealth here. Today in World of Warships, two replays of this Tier 5 German cruiser, Königsberg. Now, when I started playing the German cruiser line at Tier 4, I was thinking, oh, this ship is terrible, and I'm not likely to proceed with this line. But the Königsberg has a really interesting setup on the turrets. Not only are the rear turrets not centralized, but they can actually swing 360 degrees. And this means that especially the X turret, which is this one, can freely rotate entirely without me having to worry about the orientation of the ship or without having to swing the turret all the way around. Now, my Königsberg in this video is entirely stock. I do have the paint on it, I have a halfway decent commander but nothing stellar, and I was really testing the ship out. I think this is the second game. And this second game really shows the potential that the ship has. Consider that it is stock. It does not have the increased firing computer, or the improved firing computer. It does not have the improved hull with the improved AA. And I believe that the improved hull also gives you some slightly better rudder shift time, but I'd have to look that up. Anyway, Königsberg. 3 triple turrets, a couple of secondaries. It has 6 torpedo tubes on each side. Unfortunately, I cannot really show those off, but you can see them here and over there. And these torpedo tubes pack quite a punch, as unfortunately, again, I can't show you, but each torpedo packs about, I believe, 13,000 points of damage. And especially at this tier, especially with the current lineup that I have, that means that you can pretty much push over anything that you like with those torpedoes. And with a range of 6 clicks, they are a lot less suicidal than the torpedoes that you see on the Russian cruisers, which only have a 4-kilometer range. So definitely a really well-balanced ship. The only thing that I could say about the ship is that it does not really take fire well. If you get shot at in this ship, you're going to start noticing a significant drop in hit points rather quickly. Especially, of course, if you expose the Citadel. And the Citadel is quite large on the ship. It's quite a soft belly that this thing has. Now, initial firing range on the ship is good. The base firing range is 15 clicks, which for a cruiser at tier 5 is, well, I'd say quite good. I believe the Omaha does not quite have that range. And I think the only ships that come close to it are the Kirov and Murmansk. And of course, I believe Kirov has the spotter plane. Anyway, first targets are up. Destroyers are quite easy to find and quite easy to kill off with these guns, considering they have a really nice reload. And talking about destroyers, there's quite a few of them around. First off, let's take a couple of shots at this Omaha. Try and damage this guy some more. Possibly put him on fire again. Although fire chance for the German cruisers generally isn't very good. Now, I am trying to turn away because there's not just an Omaha there. But there's quite a few ships which can do a lot of damage if they manage to hit me in the Citadel. Talking about Citadels, I'm trying to get a Citadel shot on the Omaha. Unfortunately, my shot was a bit off, and you can see that I'm now actually taking return fire, presumably from the Myogi, or possibly the Omaha itself. I'm trying to get some Citadels in on him, especially with the beautiful broadside that he's showing here. It shouldn't be too hard. And I think that he may have some engine issues. Shots going in, and I get no broadside. Damn. Alright, fire again. Now, as for the turrets, you can see that the 2 turrets on the rear, the X and the Y turret, are quite good. They have a decent field of fire, and the bow turret can actually turn quite far. I'd say a bit farther, it seems, than some of the other ships. Anyway, the Omaha is no longer with us, and with all the destroyers around, I'm going to switch to HE and try to get some shots in on those guys. But as I was doing that, I almost ran into the island here. And, well, it wasn't really a problem because I was really waiting for these destroyers to come around. Scores are looking quite good. We've already killed a cruiser and a destroyer. And the health on my team seems to be at least decent. Here's the Nicholas. Turrets are turning into position. Shots going in. Unfortunately, not quite enough lead there. I only do 560 damage to him. I actually managed to stop the ship here. I was so caught up in trying to hit the destroyer that I completely stopped the ship. Not a good thing, but I got away with it this time. Unfortunately, talking about getting away, the Nicholas thought he was getting away, but I managed to hit him again with 5 shells out of a salvo of 6. I'd say that's really very good. And that is when I managed to run my noobish ass aground here, as I'm now trying to slowly reverse back onto the island. Again, I was quite caught up in trying to get shots in on the Kaiser. The destroyer, the Nicholas, was still playing behind the island, doing a bit of hide and seek, but there are more destroyers nearby. You can see the Izyaslav at 7 clicks out. And I wouldn't be surprised if the Izyaslav could be coming this way in order to do another torpedo run. And look at that. There's Nicholas. Nicholas, yet again, sailing into his smokescreen, completely disappearing from view. So once again, I'm going to have to try and find this destroyer and get a couple of shots in on him before he manages to get away. Pretty much a random shot there, and no hits whatsoever. Now I'm expecting the Izyaslav to come this way, considering the minimap indicated that he was heading towards my position. So I'm trying to cut him off, and hello. Nice of you to come around. Unfortunately, your torpedoes don't really stretch that far. My guns reload really damn quickly. And that shot was just completely terrible. I thought it was going to turn. So, getting more shots in. At the same time, I'm starting to turn away from the ship because I am expecting the torpedoes. I dump some of my own torpedoes in the water, but with this guy popping his smoke screen and just completely disappearing, I had no idea where he was going to be. But there he is, at 170 hit points. Completely missed the ship, but the Izyaslav was probably not expecting torpedoes. And my torpedo managed to hit him for another 170 hit points. Fantastic. At least he's dead. That's good. 2 kills. Kaiser slightly too far, or at least he is in range, but the island's slightly blocking my way. I'm trying to find how far I can fire. It seems that the front turret has managed to get at least a couple of shots over. And a little bit of damage going in, about 2,000. If I can do that every 7.5 seconds and put him on fire in the process, then that would be fantastic. There we go. Fire set. I am keeping a close look on his turrets, and he is currently starting to face me. So I turn to the starboard side, get into cover, lob a couple of shots into the island there, and avoid any kind of return fire. Now watch these turrets. The rear turrets. They're just turning the other way. They don't have to come all the way and make, let's say, either 180 or a 270 degree turn. And that saves you so much time with this ship. That makes your life so much easier. Again, put a fire on the Myogi. I am unfortunate to tell you that the Kaiser is no longer burning. He's already put out his fires. And at this stage I have almost done as much damage as I have hit points, which I usually consider a good point in any ship, because it means that you've carried your own weight. Now, quite a lot of battleships here. Mostly tier 4, but that doesn't mean that they have weak guns. These things can do a lot of damage. So I have to keep looking around, especially with the Kaiser and the Myogi pretty damn close. And the Kaiser is the only ship that I can hit at the moment. The Myogi was able to get the island between me and him, and I was not able to hit him. I can do quite a bit of damage to the Kaiser though. And as I'm waiting for this Myogi to catch up, once again I'm thanking the turrets for being able to rotate so fast. Or at least being able to rotate efficiently. Now, with this Myogi coming dangerously close to getting to fire on me, I'm pretty much bladed away from him. I'm angled away and expecting return shots. I don't think though that this guy was really a good shot. He missed most of those shots. And they didn't even get close to my hull. So we're skirmishing a little bit. Damage has gone up to 33,000, 33,000 and a half at this point, as the fires continue to take hold of that ship. and I get a nice amount of damage over time in. Now, considering the minimap, I think that this Miyogi might be coming towards me, and he's only 8.5 clicks out, at least at this point. I still have torpedoes with a range of 6, so he doesn't need to close that much more for me to get a good hit on him. So I'm expecting this guy to come up on this side of the island, and that's why I'm using the torpedo lead indicator to try and predict what he's up to. I want to see where I need to be where I need to be in order to intercept this ship. He's starting to make a starboard turn, which will mean that he's increasing speed. I'm currently slowing down myself, and he is in torpedo range, but the island is still in the way. Looks like he's once again turning port, seemingly heading directly for the gap in this island here, or between these islands. In the meanwhile, he is still taking fire, presumably from the destroyer off of his port side, and he's suddenly turning away. He's turning back the other side. The Clemson is not something that I'm expecting a lot of, considering he only has 130 hit points left. And there we go. Miyogi killed him off with a primary weapon shot, surprisingly. At this range you could have expected secondaries to finish off the destroyer, especially at 130 hit points, but no. Main guns took care of the job. Miyogi has wandered extremely close into my torpedo range. And I'm really closing the gap on him as fast as possible. 2.8 clicks out, 2.7, 2.6. One set launched. Second set launched. And the guy wasn't even looking in my direction with his guns. He was completely oblivious. And I gotta say, it works well enough for me. Torpedoes going in. Let's have a look at who's lobbing torpedoes at me. It's the other Königsberg, Fraxa in command there. Fortunately, he was well enough in his aiming ability that he didn't intentionally, or didn't hit me in the process. Looks like they're doing some not safe for work back there. Königsberg and a Miyogi. A little bit of ramming damage going in there. So far, the team is doing fantastically well. We are up 4 ships, and that spells disaster for the enemy team. My damage is almost 50,000, which is well over twice the amount of hit points that I have. And it seems that the rest of the enemy fleet is over on the other side of the map. We got one König there that we can see. The other main ship that they still have is a Kaiser, which is also down there. You cannot quite see it, but you can see it on the mini-map that it is indicated there. One cruiser there and the other cruisers over there. So time to make for full speed, rush across the open area here, and start to hit these guys with whatever units or whatever weapon systems I can best use against them. Now, Königsberg is quite fast. It is no Russian cruiser by any stretch of the imagination, but it is quite a nice and fast ship. And especially combined with the agility and the torpedoes, I'd say that this ship is a keeper. It's really, or at least the way that I play it, it's almost a big destroyer. And I find that it has a bit more of the destroyer capabilities than cruisers, while it still has quite some hard-hitting armor penetration rounds. Now I'm expecting this Königsberg to be the first target that I'm going to be firing at, and considering that he might go broadside, I'm hoping to be able to put some rounds into him. Currently having a look at what the Clemson's doing over on the right. He is closing in on the battleships. But, oh, bloody hell, Svetlana coming out of nowhere. Unfortunately, no good shot, but I was fortunate enough to be quite angled, and I only took a little bit of damage there. But we're going to have a chat with this Svetlana, because this guy is getting quite annoying. Svetlana did duck behind the island, so once again I'm heading for the Königsberg, expecting that that is going to be the first target that I'm going to be able to hit. He's only 7.8 clicks out, and he is pretty much flat side on. He's showing a nice and full broadside, and if I can hit him before someone else does, I might actually be able to get the kill and be pretty much on my way to a Kraken. Shells going in, perfectly hitting amidships, target destroyed. Full rudder port side, trying to hit the Svetlana up next. because against these two battleships I'm not that likely to do a lot of damage, whereas the Svetlana has a hull that is so thin that my armor penetration should be able to slice through it no problem. Once again, take note of the turrets. They're already in position to fire, whereas I made pretty much a full 180 doing this maneuver. And once again, my turrets had no problem keeping up. Svetlana trying to clear the island, and I pretty much predicted where he was going to be. A couple of rounds going in, barely any damage there. But your reload is so good on this ship that you can just keep doing this over and over and over again. 2 Citadel shots, 10,000 damage. Confederate award. And he gets eaten up by torpedoes, giving me a devastating strike and a Kraken unleashed. Once again, loads and loads of damage. 75,000 damage done on a 22,000 hit point ship. And I gotta admit, this type of gameplay is fantastic for me. In the sense that it is not the amount of damage that I usually get at higher tiers. It seems that the higher the tier I get, the less well I'm able to perform, save for aircraft carriers. And at tier 3, 4, 5, 6, that seems to be where I really shine at the moment. That seems to be where I'm doing the most damage. Now, up to these two battleships. Unfortunately, I'm clearing the wrong side of the island at the moment, so time to head the other way. Trying to get at least some shots in on the battleships, and who knows, maybe I can even get my last and 6th kill on this match. Possibly even 7 if I get lucky, but there's a whole fleet of ships firing at these last 2 survivors. And they are really pouring in a lot of damage. There's another Kaiser coming in off my stern, trying to join the party and trying to do even more damage. Now I switch back to HE rounds to make sure I do the most damage against these targets, because AP just doesn't quite cut it in the situation. Although at an 8 kilometer range I might actually be able to get away with it. Shots going in on the Kaiser. Again, if I can put him on fire that would be wonderful. But I think I was aiming for the Kaiser and the shot somehow went for the König, so completely screwed up that shot. But you can see that at this range, and at a ship that has not an incredibly high amount of armor, you can actually do quite some reliable damage with HE. And if I can close in on this ship, I might even be able to dump some torpedoes on him. No hits, or actually some hits, but no damaging hits on König. He's just sailing away completely unharmed. And yet again, I'm trying to close in on Kaiser, getting close enough to fire torpedoes and hoping that he's not going to start looping around the island here in order to get away from my shots. Meanwhile, the König is getting completely massacred. We've got the Clemson there over on the right trying to close in, dump some torpedoes on him. I don't think the Clemson has enough range to do that though. And even if it does, those torpedoes will never arrive in time. Now this is when we start to play hide and seek. The Kaiser starts to run rings around the island, whereas I am just not fast enough to catch him. And considering I'm so close to the island, it's no option for me to turn a hard right or starboard turn and get close enough to dump torpedoes on him or make the turn before I run into the island. So really trying to get close, trying to get the shots in, but this bloody island just keeps getting in the way. And I believe that I don't even do any more damage against this ship. The Kaiser just manages to make it away from this position. Now, a few things I wanted you to take away from this replay. The Königsberg is a really, really good ship, provided you have cover, because you notice that the few hits that I took really hurt. So if you play this thing like a big destroyer and use a couple of ambush tactics, get a couple of torpedoes in, you can do quite well with this ship. Now, as we're murdering this last ship, let's have a look at the post-battle results screen. Now, to my great regret, I did not have the battle results screen saved. I thought I took a screenshot of them, but unfortunately I didn't have them. So, with 70,000 damage done, I think that the XP that I got for that game would be about 2,700, something in that range. Anyway, on to the next battle, which I do have result screens from. This is the Solomon Islands map, and I'm in a mostly tier 4, tier 5 game. Again, quite a few battleships, and fortunately it seems that the wave of Kaisers and Königs has passed a little bit since the release of the German battleships. And with a map this small, I'm almost able to park myself in the middle of the map and hit anything that I would like to hit. That is the range of the guns as it is on the ship right now. I have the increased firing computer system, or fire control system, which means that my range is now 16.5 clicks instead of 15. And the hull is still the same as the stock hull. Once again, absolutely loving the turrets. The flexibility that you get from having these turrets in these setups so that they can rotate freely is saving you so much time and allows the ship to get those guns on target very, very quickly. Now the start of this match is a bit quiet. There are no capture zones, save for the bases, so there's no real incentive for people to start heading towards the middle. Looking at the team list, the main threat to me is those two Kirov cruisers. They have some really nasty guns on them, and moreover they're in a platoon or a division. So if I'm going to run into one, I'm likely going to also run into the other. And if those two start firing at me together, that would be a really, really bad development for my ship. For now, I'm just trying to gauge where the team is going, trying to see what's going on, and we already have the first volunteer up for killing. Note that I have already loaded armor penetration, which for the German cruisers are just really, really good rounds. Trying to get this guy enough lead. A couple of shells going in as I make the turn. Now, the rear turrets do force you to have either less guns on target or force you into a more, let's say, adventurous gameplay style, where you're going to have to expose a little bit more of the broadside of your ship. For now, though, this Omaha is taking at least some damage, and it seems that the enemy Königsberg is almost stuck. It's just almost slowed down to a crawl and making it a very easy target to hit. Unfortunately, not enough damage. I was really hoping to get a citadel there, but no such thing. And there's the Kirovs. Both Ninja Axe-78 and Toledo 2105 have been spotted. They seem to be heading towards the eastern flank, or the northeastern end of the map. And the western end of the map is not looking that good. We only have one destroyer currently covering that group. There are two cruisers behind me that are currently working their way there. And it looks like the New York already lost a fair share of its hit points. So this could be a possible area of concern. For now though, let's try to get a couple of shots in on the Kirov. This guy Toledo 2105. He is again showing quite a nice and flat angle to the ship, although he is starting to get consistently more bladed, and his turn is making it, on the one hand, easier to hit him, on the other hand, it's making it consistently more difficult. Izyaslav pops in, switch to HE, shells reload quite quickly, 7.5 seconds. But unfortunately my shells land nowhere near the target, and I only get one hit for 561 damage. And that's when we run into an Omaha that seems to be getting slightly aggressive here. And he's going to pay for that. Not so much because of the cruiser that's right next to him, because that cruiser is in a lot of trouble, but because my guns are going to inflict a lot of damage on this guy. If you keep sailing in a straight line with the cruiser, that's going to happen. 2 citadels for 12,000 damage, and he just does not get the message. So, sure, I'll citadel you again. He still does not seem to be wisening up. Last salvo goes in. Kill. 23,000 damage already. Quite the nice result so far. Karlsruhe slowing down, again almost coming to a crawl. Now this thing has a lot of guns, but their range is not that good. And the caliber on them isn't particularly good either. Unfortunately no citadels there, but 3,800 damage. And yet he seems to be turning, making it so that I don't get a citadel anymore. So I'm trying to move to his port side as fast as possible, trying to get, once again, a flat side to shoot at. But over time, constantly getting hit for 1200 hit points does hurt. And you can see that he is considering getting out of here, because he's also getting shot at from a battleship at pretty much point blank range. Couple more shells going in. And here we go. The last salvo should finish him. Nope, not yet. Another salvo. Shells going in. There we go. Target down. 36,000 damage, current score. The port side, or the west side of the map, seems to have recovered. I'm not sure where those ships all went, but it seems to look they're all turning back to their cap. Whereas our fleet seems to have not really lost that many ships. The only ships that we have lost is one down the middle and one over here. One of our cruisers died there. Our Miyogi is continuing north, and I'm almost running into another Miyogi which is currently sailing full broadside on. I'm not quite sure about its intention yet, but I think it's going to start and head north. Let's see if those Kirovs are still spotted. Yep, there's one. Ninja X-78 spotted. And most of the enemy fleet is consistent of battleships. There's only 3 cruisers and 5 battleships. So I'm going to have my work cut out for me in order to damage these guys and get as many damaging points or damaging hits on them as possible. So just move up, close in, and once again use the good speed of this ship to try and get as close as possible, as fast as possible. Now the 16.5 clicks range comes in handy, especially on this map, but these ships are all quite heavily angled, and I don't really get to do that much damage. Maybe I should have switched to HE rounds here. Ishizuchi again almost stopped because it ran into the Kaiser, and although I am hitting the ship, I'm not actually doing damage. Another salvo goes in, trying to hit this Miyogi this time around. Unfortunately, no hits there. Yeah, some of them. 1287. Not too bad. Let's see about the other end. Currently I know that there's 2 battleships of mine heading north. And I know that there's 2 cruisers there somewhere, but where exactly they've gone remains to be seen. Wyoming seems to be fully engaged on the other flank, where you can see that people are skirmishing around this edge of the island here. A couple of cruisers there, 1 battleship and a destroyer. Now look at that target, that would be destroyer heaven, wouldn't it? Kirov has been spotted, and if that Kirov manages to get much closer, it's going to be able to get torpedoes in on the Miyogi, on Hero Warrior there. And Turkology is trying to get closer, trying to support him. But it seems that he is not quite in a position to help out, short of shooting at that enemy König. So let's see if I can help out by sailing through the middle. There should be plenty of stuff to shoot at, especially if that cruiser is distracted. And oh, different cruiser. It's the other Kirov. The other Kirov is showing me a fantastic broadside. So, yes please, if you want to show me your broadside, I would be happy to capitalize on that. There's not really anything that he can do here, short of just trying to run away. And I'm perfectly happy staying pretty much flat side onto them, or bow on, in order to minimize my exposure. You can see a couple of rounds bouncing off of my hull there, nothing really significant. Trying to gauge what the ship's going to be doing, but it looks like he's run aground. Little bit of damage, need to aim a bit lower. You can see I'm only using 1 turret this time around. The other turrets are just not available. Doesn't matter, you can still do a lot of damage even if you have 3 guns. Another salvo, still right into the broadside. Another citadel, knocked out his engine. So he's not going to be moving anywhere anytime soon. A little bit of damage, no citadel there. And I just got hit by a lot, or for a lot of damage, probably by this Kirov here. He knocked out my bow battery, Post-battle results screen. 288,000 credits, 2400 XP, 100,000 points of damage done. Mostly thanks to 11 Citadel hits. Team score puts me firmly on the first place at 1643 base experience. And the detail reports tell you that I did a lot, if not all of the damage to that Kirov cruiser. Knocked out almost single-handedly an Omaha. Did quite a bit of damage to that Wyoming, Black Fox of Doom. Mostly thanks to AP. I didn't really hit him with anything else. And credits and XP, it is a premium account, but even with a base account you would still have made a nice profit and gotten a good amount of XP for this win. So, Königsberg, definitely a new favorite of mine. Very versatile, fast, quite agile. The turrets could turn a bit faster, but other than that, it is a fantastic ship and I thoroughly enjoy it. So if you haven't tried the German cruiser line yet, let me know what your thoughts are on it as you start playing it. And I'm curious to hear what kind of cruisers I can expect further down the line. Are they all as good? Do they get better? Do they get worse? Let me know what your thoughts are in the comments down below. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Good luck on the high seas, and I'll see you soon for more naval warfare, war game, and World of Warships.